All right, well, here with my first guest. It's not really going to be a guest-based show. It's going to be more of a conversational show with whoever happens to be here. You never know who it might be, so you're going to be sure you check in. There's going to be a lot of recurring members and a lot of new members mixing in and out. So you never know. It's kind of a social thing when you show up as far as who's going to show up. But today, we got myself and Brianna, who basically designed the whole room. She did a great job. It looks killer. Drop it in the comments, 1 to 10 rating, how she did on the room. What you can't see, you can see the majority of it. We do have a TV right here, so if we have to watch something that we're going to discuss, we can pull it up on YouTube, watch it, and talk about it. Also, we have a skull tree here with 4 big mule deer bucks that is out of frame. Maybe we'll find a way to get that in a shot at some point. But pretty exciting. How does it feel being in here? We put in a lot of work.
I did put in a lot of work. I did. No, it's good. It's good.
You killed it, by the way. She did.
I did. I know I did.
I did some things.
Yeah, you hung the curtains.
I had a lot of input.
You finished the table that I
Skull
put 90% of.
Skull tree.
Yeah, you brought that over.
Hung them out.
You did
Hung
a good amount of things.
Hung the picture.
We've learned I clearly can't hang things straight, so that was not on me.
She goes, I go, here, tell me when it's straight. She goes, it's straight, and I'll tack it in, I'll go back, I go, yeah, no, it's crooked. And I go back, do it again, it's crooked. Took 3 tries, I eventually had to do it.
But yeah, luckily these honeycomb things right here, these soundboards are oddly shaped, so you can't tell. And you're at an angle, but they are crooked as well, so therefore the editing station sign's also crooked. Just the little things I see, but otherwise, no, great. I think he's got a elk mount that's out in the hallway that's going to go over his head, or Euro mount over his head there, so that won't look so empty. But yeah, comment if you see like some dead space. I don't know what you'll end up being able to actually see once he cuts the video up, but you know, I see some dead space here and places that things could go. So if you think of something cool and want to drop a link to be like, you should order this. I'm a big fan of Amazon. Amazon Prime.
She is.
I am. You gotta pay for the Prime, baby. You can't skip. So yeah, it was a good, quick, surprisingly for me, projects take me a while to finish. Quick setup. So I like it. I think it's a great space for potting and conversations.
Yeah. And I don't think it won't only be used for pods. You know, obviously I do real estate, so like I do real estate content as well. It works really doubles for that, which is cool. But also, you know, I could see doing like archery product reviews in here potentially, or even like maybe some bow tests, like little, you know, you can do different things. So eventually, you know, who knows what'll happen, but don't feed the dog. No, but yeah, definitely exciting. And yeah, the Bowdisciples podcast, the BDP, you know.
Oh, podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know what the P was for.
Yeah.
You just said it, but yeah.
That's cool, yeah. Shout out to Jeff
you forgot
Peterson.
a guest. You forgot a guest.
Oh yeah, we do have Albus here. He got in the trash a minute ago, so he's kind of in the doghouse, but he's in for the first pod. My shorts are falling off, so I gotta get them back on. But we got Brianna here. And like I said, this is not an interview space, it's a conversation space. But there's some things that I want to know that I don't know. Like, for example, what was your very first hunt you ever went on? What was it for? What were you hunting with? Did you get something? Did you see anything?
So the first hunt I think I ever went on, I'm trying to remember if I went like running dogs before I sat a tree. I honestly can't remember. So I'll just go with the first, like sitting hunting versus dog running. It was on a little 10-acre piece of private property. At the time, the person I was with, their family had access to it because they did work for them and whatnot, fencing work. So we would go out there. We had, quick side note, we're trying the carnivore diet, so I am over here, minus I can't give up coffee. I just can't do it. So I have a coffee. I'm allowed to have that. It's the only thing I do have. But I'm over here munching away on beef sticks and hard cheese. So anyways, the first hunt I ever went on, we had access to 10 acres. We would go hang, it actually scared the living daylights out of me the first time I went out, but feeders on timers that hung from the trees. So it would go off and scare the bejesus out of you and start spreading corn in circles. That was the first hunt I ever went on. First time I went, I didn't kill anything. I sat in the tree, a double stand, which those are very comfortable, I'll tell you what. You didn't even need a second person in it. Nice and roomy. That was the first hunt I ever went on. And my first deer was that buck that's out in the living room, little 6-point. And shot him out of a tree sitting by myself. And trying to remember if it was him or the spike, but it basically ran in circles like the corn feeder when it sprays. And so he only went about 30 to 60 yards maybe after that, because he did about 200 yards in circles. Yeah.
Pumpy.
Yeah. And that was my first ever hunt.
All right, so that must have been pretty exciting, I assume. My question would be, after that, were you like pretty set on that you wanted to hunt again? Like, were you pretty like hooked on the experience, would you say?
Yeah, I would actually say I was hooked on archery even before hunting. So my first bow was a diamond bow tech. That only lasted about 3 months. And then I said, no, I'm meant for more. No, it was just, I would say like,
you gotta stop eating too.
No. I would say I learned really fast at shooting and got decent at shooting pretty quickly. I just didn't suck. And so we switched the bow up to my elite that I had for the last 7 years. And that was what I shot my first deer with. So I think I got more so hooked on shooting first, and then the thought of being able to shoot something accurately with my bow that was enticing. And then just that, I'm not one of those ones that can stay calm in the tree stand like you can. The tunnel vision starts, and like that ability to try to fight, like feeling like you're gonna pass out in the stand, and like keeping your eyes focused without it's legit tunnel vision, like my eyes go white and just like it narrows in on what I'm looking at, not in like a binocular way and like I'm gonna pass out way. So being able to try to fight that and like be successful was like what just kept me like going back to my tree stand. And then like I said, eventually got into also running dogs, which is a whole different game in itself.
Yeah, that I didn't know that was a thing for anything but like bears and mountain lions. I had never heard about this for deer hunting, so that was crazy to tell when you told me about that. And I don't think a lot of people who like hunt like how I do even know that's a thing. So maybe dive into that a little bit.
Yeah,
and
well,
the
I think
experience.
what's interesting though is that because I ran dogs for a couple years with the people that I knew. Don't anymore, obviously. And a lot of people who hunt more so like I or you do, that either sit trees or, spot and stalk or whatnot, really hate dog runners. Hate them with a passion. We talked about it with Elizabeth a little bit. No, we weren't there. We talked over lunch one day. But I don't have that, and maybe it's because I experienced it and not just one try and done. I really experienced it. And I have no hatred towards dog runners. I think it is a cool thing to do. I think it's a cool thing to experience, even if you're never going to do it again. But basically what it is you load up your dogs. Typically you'll have some sort of built dog box in the back of your car. If you're really nice, you also have water tanks attached, so you can water your dogs throughout the day. So again, it's humane. The dogs are not out there dying of, dehydration or heat. You pull them off a track if you need to, put them back in there to rest, cool down, drink water, and you can put another dog out. So you go out, you look for tracks in the morning, kind of think about what looks freshest crossing the road, and then what you'll do is typically take one of your best dogs out, with the best nose, I mean by that, and you'll put him out on the track to kind of start. And if he's really hot on it, meaning he's really barking or he's taken to it and going into the woods, that's when you'll release the rest of your dogs, however many you want to put out on it. And those dogs will just keep running. And you'll have a GPS collar on them, or some sort of like antenna collar. Sometimes you have both as a backup system if one dies. And you'll follow them and you'll hunt with a hunting party. And so where we hunt, you typically kind of know the blocks or the roads within the forest. And if you're good and the parties you're with are good, then you're kind of going to know those crossing points that deer would most likely come out on, and you're going to put trucks in those different locations. And then you kind of just stand and wait, and you're hoping that you're in the lucky spot that the deer is going to come out on, and you're going to watch on the GPS this deer do this and this and this as the dogs are following the trail, and eventually you'll start to hear them get closer and closer, and then you'll start to actually hear the deer running, and that's where you kind of get ready. You have your shotgun out, still unsafe until that deer crosses the road, and that's that. Once he crosses the road and it's a safe spot for you to shoot, you're going to try to shoot that deer. And 9 times out of 10, the deer is going to go down. Your dogs are going to follow it till, they find the deer. And you're going to go in and you're going to harvest that deer. And that's dog running. It's pretty simple, but it's a lot of high energy when you are running one. It's a lot of low energy when you can't get your dogs to follow a scent. But it's fun. It's a fun sport.
Now, I would imagine most of the shots that you're getting are pretty close range generally, like 10 to 30 yards or what?
Yeah. I mean, I'd never shot at anything like further than that. Running deer, I had one almost like jump on top of me once. 'Cause the idea is that like you can hear the dogs, and you can, when you hear them coming, you can kind of work your way up the road walking. Like you want to make sure the car's shut off in advance, turn the CB radios down or whatever you're using to chit chat. But you want to make sure that you're not making any noise, because you're going to deter that deer from coming out, and then you just work towards the sound. So if you hear them paralleling the road, you're walking paralleling the road too. And then that's that. So,
interesting.
yeah. You obviously can't hunt on highways or paved roads and whatnot. That's when you just have to give up. Essentially, you need to go out. One, it's not even just because you can't do it. You invest so much time and money into these dogs. They're not, for some people maybe they're just their hunting dog. For me, those dogs were my Albicans, my pets. And so your biggest first concern is safety, because if they come out on the road, those dogs do not care. They are not going to give up the scent, and they will run back and forth across that road until they pick the scent back up, and will more than likely get hit by a car. So your first goal is to go out there and save them from crossing a highway or a road, paved road. But otherwise, dirt roads, on public land is fair game.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it is. It's wild. It's wild that that's a real thing. Like I said, I didn't even know, so it's cool to hear about and interesting. So you got a deer with a rifle. The first one you talked about, was that with a rifle?
No, my first deer was with a bow.
First one? That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, I've only ever shot one with not including running dogs. I think I've only shot 2 running dogs. One was actually a paired kill, I would say, with Brittany. That's the one that's broken in half up there on one of the what do you call
Shelves.
it? Shelves. Yeah, that's the word I want. Shelves. Is shelves a real word? SHELFS?
I think it's
I know it's
spelled
shelves.
with a V.
It's spelt with a V, but a lot of people say shelves.
I
But
think
anyways.
both might be words. I'm
Maybe.
not sure.
I don't know.
Shelves for sure
Maybe
is.
one's an
I think
English
shelves is also maybe a word. I'm not
Um,
entirely positive,
I don't
but
know
I think
either,
it
but-
might be.
Yeah, 2 I think with shotgun. 1 team takedown. Only 1 with a rifle. It was a doe. She was actually pregnant. We actually brought her to the.
You say so much shit I can't put in there.
Why? It was completely legal. You can't tell a doe is pregnant.
I cannot put
Yes,
that in.
you can.
No.
I'm telling you, you can.
You're wild.
The deer.
I'm gonna
was-
get canceled for sure.
What's another word for pregnant? The
Just
deer was
maybe
with
just-
child.
Maybe just omit that part. Just don't.
No,
say
that's a cool part of the story.
That's not that
So
cool.
she was completely out of season, rut, I don't know, post-rut. She shouldn't have been with children. But she was. And so we sent pictures of them to the biologist and she studied them. And she's like, well, luckily they weren't bucks. So, I did the world a favor. 2 less does in the world. But anyways, that was with a rifle on WMA, which is Wildlife Management Areas in Florida, Seminole Forest. Other than that 1 rifle, everything else has been with my bow.
How many deer have you got with a bow?
Gosh, it's hard to count. Any of those spikes out there, so that's 2 or 3 spikes I have out there. The little ones.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
2 or 3, plus my 6-point.
And then the big one you got.
Then the big one.
And the coos deer.
And Kentucky, and then the coos. So 4 or 5 with my bow. I'm leaning towards 5 because I think I'm probably forgetting does.
Roger that. So what about that big one you got in Kansas? That was
Kentucky.
In Kentucky. I don't know.
If anyone lives in Kansas or
all
wants
these-
to offer,
All these states.
I'll take
run
a trip.
They all run together for me.
What about that one?
So.
Oh yeah, I got a doe and a buck the same night in Kentucky, back to back. That was probably the funnest thing I'd ever done prior to spot and stalk hunting. That was cold. I sat a spot a couple of times and didn't see anything, and moved to a field. That was on private property though. It was kind of like a girls' trip that she did annually and chose a different set of girls every year. And so Brittany had went the year before and shot her Kentucky buck, and then I got to go the next year. And ended up deciding to switch tree stands and went to a different one. And I could hear him behind me to my right. And sure as anything, I just see him I was at like a pinch point or a crossing point in the roads. So like a paved trail. I call them roads, they're not roads, they're trails. And he came out of the forest and just went up to the trail, started raking a tree, and waited for him to stop raking the tree, and he was broadside, and I shot him, and he wheeled backwards and ran about 20 yards, and I could see him go down right on the edge of the road. So I could still see him, and then a doe came out right behind him, literally went and sniffed the same tree that he was just raking about 10 minutes earlier. Shot the doe in the exact same spot. She ran the other way, continued down the trail. She died about 40 yards. She ran into the trees a little bit. And so then I sat there because I was waiting for everything to calm down. And then, sure as anything, you wish you always had more than, the tags that you have. But a monster came out, probably double the size of the Kentucky buck that I have. Came out and did the same exact thing. And I had to let him walk because I had filled all of my tags for the trip in that one sit. So then, luckily, the person who helped manage their property offered to let me go hunt his property. So I went and sat a very fancy, I don't even know what you call them, they're like tripods, but then it's a blind up in the air. It's like one of those big hard plastic ones because it snows and gets cold there. And they have heaters and chairs in them, it's very nice. So I went and set that, just saw some does and whatnot, but wasn't going to shoot a doe. And Yeah, that was Kentucky. I absolutely love Kentucky. I think it's a beautiful state. I would live there. I would retire there. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's wonderful, minus the snow.
Does it snow a lot there?
In certain parts, yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right, so that's pretty cool. Two deer in the same day is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen those videos on YouTube where guys in like Atlanta will get like 5 does in the same sit.
Oh yeah, they have like coals though,
Mhm.
essentially, because there's too many deer.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild. I couldn't. It's just so much different than what I'm used to, where you get like one tag. You know, it's a lot different,
Yeah.
but really cool. All right, and then you went to you went over and hunted out west. Gave that a try. You got to coos deer. What was that
Yeah.
like? Coming not doing something like that to doing that. Like, what was that adjustment like, or just like the experience of showing up for the first time?
Well, I think it's probably in one of maybe the Arizona video from last year, and you kind of talk about it, but you and Matt put me through the ringer the first day. What did we do? Is it 15 miles?
I don't know. It was a lot.
No, it's 12, somewhere between 12 and 18 miles is
Yeah.
what I remember. And that was a lot. I've learned to stay upright for the most part on mountains now. But I probably took like 50 spills that trip. Cactus. I love cacti, but other desert plants I hate. I've learned that. But ultimately, just obviously, night and day different from Eastern hunting. You don't have the topography on the East, for the most part, that you do vastly on the West. So really, spot and stalk in most areas is going to be your best bet. The coos, that one was a little different. Like, we had spotted him and then had the ability to be able to take the ranger closer and then get out and stalk in. I'd say there were stalks that you and I did that were much more challenging as far as climbing things goes. But it's just different because, your heart's racing when you're in your tree stand, but then add the, out of breath if you were hiking up, straight up a mountain like the one coos that we went in for you, or like having to sit there for 2.5 hours knowing that, the buck you want's only 200 yards away, and you can't just walk into it. I've never realized how much wind plays a factor. Like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just that Florida, there's not a lot of wind or something. I don't know, but it never bothered me. Like, I never felt like I needed to try winding dust in my stand, or like turn my stand a different direction because the wind was coming from behind, or whatever. With a climber, you just pick it up and back around the tree. But never felt like I needed to do it as much. Here, if I were to sit a tree, it would play a big factor in where I am. So, just completely different. Everything about it. Style, the amount of energy it takes, the type of knowledge you need to have. Not that you have to have more in one or the other, but it's just a completely different set of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely different, and it's a lot more. I just feel like when you're ground level with the animal and trying to move, there's so many more variables than sitting, which is
For
big,
sure,
but
when
also,
you're 20 feet up in a tree, I'm not saying it's easy,
no.
and they can still, I'm sure it's probably happened to you, it's happened to me before, when you just get this, and they're staring right at you. You can still get busted in a tree, but I think it's just so much easier to get busted when you're at eye level with them.
Well, plus what you mentioned too, like the physicality's obviously a lot different. It's just it's different, but What now that you've kind of done both styles a bit, is there one that you prefer, or a style of hunting that you kind of like prefer if you had the choice?
I would prefer spot and stalk, for sure. I think it's way more exhilarating. Obviously, like you are stalking after an animal. Every little thing and movement and breath you take, where you step, makes a difference whether you're going to harvest or not harvest this animal. But I'd like to say I think that because I'm like impatient and I think maybe it's faster to get something spawn stock, but that's not really true. I feel like that's a, what do you call it, like a myth or a oxymoron. Like it's not faster to get something spawn stock. Could you maybe have more opportunities because you can glass miles on end if you're in the right area? And go on multiple stalks a day, sure. But if you're moving too quickly because, oh, I saw a buck, let me go. Oh, I saw a buck, let me go. You're more likely to bust them out and then have to repeat that cycle and over again and still end up not getting something just as much as sitting a tree. So it takes, I think, just as much patience to do both because we've explained this, like, I wanted that coos up on that mountain in Arizona, and both you and Ted told me, like, I think when we packed up, you guys both made sure to tell me, like, you understand why we're not going after that one, right? Because the reality is not every buck is in an approachable spot.
Yeah, most aren't.
Yeah.
Most aren't. It's really important.
But if you don't spook them, like what you've taught me, is that there's a very good chance he's going to be in the area tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that I see a couple really, really common mistakes when I go like stalking with people for their first time, or even guys who've stalked a lot but like maybe aren't the best at it. People always go way too fast. Like I constantly have to slow people down when I'm going with them. Go slower. Like you gotta creep along unless it's a time that calls for speed, but that's pretty uncommon. Most of the time you want to go real slow. And also another big mistake is I think a lot of people, when they glass something up, they just go, oh, I gotta go right now. I see something, I gotta go after them right now. But in reality, you'd be better off watching them for an extended period of time and really having a good, solid game plan to put in an effective stock, not a quick stock. So like, take your time, make sure it's proper to even go, and then once you go, know that your first chance is going to be your best chance to get it done, so make sure you try not to rush, don't get too excited, do anything irrational, and if it's not panning out when you're in there and you go, I'm at 150, there's no way I can get to 50, just back out. Or sit down and wait and see what happens. But a lot of people push too hard and are too aggressive, and this leads to a tremendous amount of blown stalks.
That was like the one we did earlier this year. And we probably could have waited another day, seen him again in the same spot, but I said, no, let's go. Turns out we got down there and walked through about 500 yards of straight bushes of poison oak.
I didn't get hammered with poison oak though, which is surprising.
I surprisingly didn't either.
Yeah, it's very surprising. That was nice though. It was a nice little surprise.
And that stuff was fresh.
Yeah, it was very ripe Urashol on that oak, but
I went in there and couldn't see, and I'm gonna need you to open my beef jerky.
Well, that's another thing too, is your terrain and your size, like so many factors play into it, but like certain stocks that might work for me, at my height 6 feet, you know what I'm saying, might not work for you at 5 feet. So it's like important to know your size, like your skill set too, and like adjust. Not everyone can hunt or approach something the same way, so it's like you gotta be self-aware and also not be too arrogant to, if something's like you can't do it or it's a very, very low chance that you can, to sit the play out. And I think if you can learn to do that and be okay with it, live to fight another day, I think people's chances would increase a lot.
Yeah, well, that's one, so I hate to ever be like, oh, hate that hunters do this or whatnot, like how people hate on dog runners or, another style of hunting or whatnot. But that is the one thing I think I have learned to be the most patient with and understand is that I'm 5'1". I can add as much poundage as I want to my bow, but at the end of the day, my draw is 24.5 inches. So I naturally am not going to be able to shoot as far as you or someone 6 foot tall who has a 30-inch draw plus can draw 75 pounds. And you hear people talk about how, I just, I launched one out there. I threw it out there. Like, I hit it in the ass, but it's okay. When is that okay? Like, we want hunting to be around for as long as it can possibly be around. But when you tell stories like that, you're creating a narrative for people to use against you and the community. Or not you specifically, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those things that can get me on a soapbox because I can't stand when I hear stories like that. But, it is what it is. But I do think that everybody should know what their realistic limit is for shooting when they go out into the field. And then it changes, like with wind versus no wind. What's, realistically an ethical shot for you? Like I knew on the elk hunt, realistically, 40 yards was going to be it for me to be able to feel comfortable that I would get enough penetration to be able to ethically harvest something. Could I shoot further than that accurately? Yes. But should you do it to harvest an animal? No. So just because someone can shoot their target bow to 100 or 120 yards, does that mean you should launch an arrow at 100 yards to an animal? No. But that's, anyway, soapbox, jumping off of it now, that's just one thing you said and it made me think of that. So, continue.
Well, I mean, to touch on that a little bit, you said, elk hunting, 40 was my max, and I can shoot further. Yeah, you can shoot further on flat ground at zero elevation, not winded, with perfect conditions. Your feet are on flat ground, the target's on flat ground. But could you shoot that same distance that you could shoot practice in down a steep hill
after
next to trees? Hike. You're winded, it's the elevation's higher. It's like there's so many factors. But yeah, effective range is super important. This is something I've talked about for years. Is like know your effective range, and a test I like to do is set out a regular paper plate, and if you could put 9 out of 10 arrows in the plate at a given yardage, to me that's in your effective range in those conditions, right? So for me that might be 80 yards. For you, that might be 40. So for someone else, that might be 20. But it's important, I think, to know that and do those tests so that way you can do the shots that are ethical for you, because some people are better shooters, some are worse shooters. So their effective ranges are not the same. So some people will be like, oh, no archer should shoot past 30 yards. And or they'll say, just launch it, like you said. But I think it's an individual topic.
It for sure is.
It's not a one size fits all, and equipment factors into that too. What's even possible. But yeah, really important. And then another thing I wanted to touch on. We touched on the elk hunt a little bit. I don't think we really need to dive in there too much, but I was curious, what just generally, being a hunter as you have been for 7 or 8 years or whatever it is, how do you feel like being a woman, like an attractive woman also in hunting or in archery? Do you feel you get kind of like maybe judged or looked at differently than like me as a dude, would you say? And if so, how?
Disclaimer, I am not a feminist. Disclaimer. I am not a feminist. With that said, yes, I do. I know everybody hates to hear things like that, like, oh, you're just saying that because you're a female or whatnot. But And it goes both ways. You got males who say, oh, you're just, getting the attention because you're a female. Or, vice versa. You have women hating on you and saying, like, oh, people only like these videos because you're good looking. Well, no, I think there's some success in what I can do. I'm not sitting there tooting my own horn. You've seen me get mad when I go to shoots. That's a bad habit I have, and I will work myself into shooting poorly because I get mad at how I shoot. But I'm out there doing it. Yeah, I think the sport. I think the sport should be equal no matter what. I don't think that, you need to fit a stereotype of, being a hillbilly woman because
Which is
that's
fine
what
too,
fits.
by the way.
It absolutely is. How many times do you catch me wearing shoes outside in San Diego where I could step on a needle and get a disease any day of the week? I'm not the most feminine lady in the world, but because I choose to put makeup on sometimes because that just makes me feel good about myself, and I like it. Then it's like, oh, you're getting dolled up for the camera, or, oh, you're wearing a tank top. I'm sorry, I don't know, will this hit you kids? I'm sorry my boobs aren't smaller, just because they're not flat-chested, that means I can't wear a tank top. So, like, how conservative does that sound, So only women who don't have boobs are allowed to wear tank tops, but women who do have them should cover them up? I'm sorry I don't want a farmer's tan, or I'm sorry I don't want to sweat and smell like a butthole like Albus sometimes. Like, why is it fair that because I have them, I should have to wear an oversized shirt? Explain the logic to me. And if, like, I can't even, there's many ways people could think about it, but, like, oh, well, it's not fair for you to, be able to show them off to get more views than somebody who doesn't have them. Well, I'm sorry, men, but if that's the case, then maybe you should stop looking at thumbnails with boobs in them. Like,
well, it's also kind of goofy too because, like, if the argument that some people make is like, oh, you're doing this for attention, it's like, well, you're also commenting and saying that, so are you doing that for attention? But also, like, are you doing something because you want attention or because you are passionate about it and want to get better, or like actually are good at something and post up results? So, like, some people might hit me with that and say, oh, you're always filming stuff, you just love attention. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah, sure, it's probably somewhat true, I think that's probably true for anyone, whether they say it or not. But
especially in the production world.
But the thing is, it's like, no, I'm actually posting up results year after year after year for decades. Mm-hmm. It's like, does that just garner some attention on its own, regardless of what you look like? I think the success in anything, whether you're really good at tennis or really good at golf, you're probably going to get attention for just being successful at those things.
Yeah.
Now, can you shortcut it? I suppose you can, and that's a little
And lots
different.
of people say women do, because, your channel wouldn't be so big, or you wouldn't have as many followers, or you wouldn't get as many, product deals if you weren't a female. That's probably true. It probably is.
Yeah.
But
there's nothing wrong with that, though, because people have to think about it, too, from a brand's perspective, right? If that's what you're...
Again, production.
Well, if that's what you want, is sponsorships, right? I've been down that road before biking. You try to talk me into it all the time. I don't really have an interest in doing sponsorship deals. I've done it before.
Which I think is wrong.
Don't really want to do it again. And we may, you might talk me into it, but it's not something that, like, really calls out to me, right? But for some people, that's like their entire goal is to get deals. And if it is, you're very smart to get higher numbers, because then you're more likely to get the deals that you want to get. Mm-hmm. So if you're complaining about not having sponsors, but you're intentionally not doing things that will help you get more viewership, then you're literally just shooting yourself in
But
the
I'm
foot
gonna
to
put a
accomplish
disclaimer on that.
your own goal.
I'm not saying
You know?
that a woman, and now you could have been talking about anybody, but I'm just going to specific because we went down this road because of being a female. But I'm not saying that because you're a female, you're doing yourself.
There's so much content. You see this thing?
Yeah.
It's just it's dripping all over the place.
I'm not saying you're doing yourself a disjustice or injustice because you don't put on makeup or wear tight-fitting clothes or whatever. No. I'm not saying that whatsoever.
Just don't complain about it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is don't hate on the people who do. I don't have to wear baggy hunting clothes. Personally, I think it's uncomfortable. And when you're wearing baggy clothes as a 5'1" sized person and you try to take a step up a mountain and your knee gets stuck on where the kneecap should be, but it's not because your pants are too big, I think that's a horrible decision. I'm going to wear stuff that's fitting so I feel comfortable when I'm hiking 12 miles a day. It's just, you know, and you can't say I do it all the time. See, there are plenty of videos out there, go find them, that I don't have eyelashes on, or I don't have makeup on, or I didn't do my hair that day, or I wore a sweater. So it's just, I just wish people would just be happy for watching the content. You like it or you don't like it. But, at least from my perspective, I don't put on a tank top just to get views. If you check out my following on Instagram, it's not giant. Granted, it's grown through you, but it's not giant. So it's, if it were, you'd see me out there posting, 1 to 2 posts a day and a story a day, constantly in a tank top shooting in short shorts or jean shorts that are ripped and, wild stuff. But I don't do that. I barely post as it is. Last one was probably about 3 weeks ago to a month.
Did you just look at your wrist?
I did, yeah, it's my fake clock. I do that regularly.
There you go.
But, just like the content for what it is, or don't like it if you don't. Now, I'm not telling you got freedom of speech, so I can't speak. Comment on what you want to comment on. But, don't hate on people because they're pretty. Don't bash people if you think they're not. Just like the content or don't like the content.
Yeah, I mean, it's free too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the videos on YouTube are free. And like you said, I mean, there's so many people that make videos and anything you want to watch. Literally just today I was on YouTube watching videos about how to fix a dishwasher, like there's plenty of videos. So if you don't want to watch Bowdisciples, that's fine. But some people, it's actually a fact if you go read about it. If you are a hater, you'll actually watch the content more religiously because it's like, oh, I gotta watch it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's a real thing, and I think that to put a bow on it a little bit, it's important to notice who trolls are, who the haters are, because usually it's someone with 0 posts or a private page with 4 followers that are probably just miserable, or it's. My point is, you don't see winners leaving hate comments, or people out there who are supportive of others leaving hate comments, or talking shit behind your back. That doesn't happen when you're trying to accomplish your own goals, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm. Well, because you're trying to support, it's not just a single person. You're just supporting a community, whether that's a hunting community, a sporting community, a acting community, whatever the community is. You're just trying to be supportive to continue, it being there. It goes back to not wanting to get the community canceled because you're telling bad stories about shooting things, in the ass or something. Just want to be supportive. Now, not saying be supportive of someone doing something really heinous or stupid that does give the sport a bad name, but it's if people want to hate on you for putting females in thumbnails, well, if we added them all up, honestly, it's about 3% of the thumbnails. I kind of want to do the math after this and find out how many it actually is.
It's more.
I don't know.
Unless
You
you're
had
counting
how
shorts,
many videos prior to 2 years ago? 2 years ago, I think, was your first. You had Jenna, right?
Yeah, shout out to Jenna.
attack video.
First one. Yeah. Shout out to her.
And you had the channel 3 years before that.
Yeah.
So, I would venture to say it's not. It's less than 10%.
Well, plus, like I always talk about, I mean, the having the females in the videos and in the thumbnails has increased the female viewership, which I think is really, really cool. And actually, like bowdisciples.com does pretty good with females buying merch or straps or whatever.
I've told you, you've seen it when, like, I had a woman come up last year, maybe it was this year, I don't remember, come up from Australia that said, you know, I bought the Ivashaki because I watched one of your videos. Or, you know, you see the comments and it's like, it's inspirational as a female to see, again, not a feminist, but when a sport is primarily dominated by men. And it's not that you want to be the most competitive. Like, I know. I have learned to accept the fact that, like, in hunting situations, at least, like, could I always get better at target shooting? I'm sure. Plenty of women could beat a man at target shooting. I'm sure it happens. I personally don't enjoy, like, target shooting for competition. But could I do it? Sure. Could I get better? Sure. But do I know that in a hunting situation, like, my shot, you know, my yardage is always going to be different from yours? Yes, like, it's just a factor of my physical being. But it's inspiring to see women or husbands in comments who say, like, you know, I'm going to buy my wife a bow after this. Or a woman who comments and say, like, I went out and got a bow after watching this. Or, like, it's good to know that there's a bow out there for short females. Like, just good to know you're growing the female community of the sport. Because I would love to see more women do it. Especially kids. Like, I think it's great to get them outdoors and, like, doing something that's not playing a video game.
Yeah, I mean, we get comments like that all the time. It's really cool. Same with kids, too. A lot of kids like to watch the channel. And I'm proud of that. And also proud of the women watching, which is, you know, a lot because of you, obviously, and Whitney and Jenna or whoever else has been in the videos. Rebecca, I don't want to forget any girls, I'm sure I did. But shout out to all the girls.
Caitlin, Krista.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a bunch, right? And they all the women I just named, like, it's cool because not only do all of you guys shoot bows, but you all hunt too, other than Caitlin, I think, has never hunted, but I know she'd love to. All those other girls are, like, actual hunters.
And you know what I love about it? I don't think I ever thought about it until literally
really cool.
right now. Is that if you look at every single one of those women, every single one of them is vastly different.
Yeah, of course.
Whether it's the type of job they do, whether it's if they're girly or not girly, or more of a tomboy, or hunted more, hunted less, or vastly different jobs. I don't know if I said that one or not, but, like, we're all extremely different. Like, again, I think that's a testament of, like, why should we shit on the fact that there are females in thumbnails? What we should be doing is excited to see that, like, anybody can do the sport. You don't have to be a cowboy to shoot.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I used to always say that, like, our channel was cool because, you know, it's okay to the joke I made is like you could listen to Drake and be a hunter. You don't have to listen to, you know, Waylon Jennings only, which I like both of them, right? But it's okay to,
do I not like Drake?
That's fine, right? But like you don't have to fit the same stereotype to be a hunter. Anyone can be a hunter, and you know,
just a shooter. That's the thing that's like big.
Or just an archer. And this one I would love to touch on because some people would be like, oh, you know, why are you guys just shooting, like playing beer pong? Like, you shouldn't. That's not good hunting. I'm like, well, we're not hunting. Like, it's not hunting season. It's June, and like I'm playing with my buddies in the yard where there's no danger. Like, there's no one around, just our group, and it's a fun game. You know how many people on TikTok and Instagram tag me that they went and played after that? Like, a whole bunch of people loved it. It gives you something fun to do. It makes it more of a social thing, you know, a marketing event, a networking event. That's awesome. But there's a difference between shooting your bow for fun and when you're out hunting. It's different things. But guess what? When you're shooting your bow for fun more, you're going to be a better shooter because you're shooting more when you go hunting.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so goofy to me
And
that
like,
it's like,
there's no correlation to the fact that, like, say you do play archery, beer pong. Does that directly correlate to, oh, you drink when you go hunting then?
no.
No.
I've never once drank
No.
while
I mean,
hunting.
it is
Ever.
like, there is never a time in the middle of the day between your morning and afternoon sit that you pick up a drink.
Never.
In your schedule is a rock star in the morning, sometimes a rock star in the afternoon before your afternoon hunt,
Yeah.
and then maybe it's a beer at dinner time.
Before bed, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so goofy.
It's just a wild thought to even like think that the two correlate together.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I've been seeing this a lot on Cam Haines' page, is like, you know, he'll kind of make like tongue-in-cheek jokes about how like, oh, you know, gotta love how supportive the hunters are, and he'll like post a screenshot of just like people shitting on him, which is that's not that fun for someone like him. You know, he's given a ton of growth to the sport and got so many people into it, and he's an elite hunter. All he does is promote living a healthy lifestyle, working hard, being a good hunter, all positive things. But because he's successful and has a big platform, people hate on him, which is so goofy, because if your goal is to save hunting and have it be around in 100 years, you need more people in it to sign your petitions and vote. But then you're knocking the guys who get more people into it. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, because if the
that's a really
sport
good
stays
point to it.
smaller, then the odds of it getting eliminated through legislation, which is very possible, the odds go way up if there's less people to support it. So you need the nucleus to grow, but then the people that are jealous hate on the people who get the most people into it. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But I think
Just hating on things in general doesn't make
haters.
sense.
But I think ultimately it really does come down to jealousy most of the time. But going back to the women thing, like, I think mostly, you know, I think that you know, people support you for the most, like 95% probably, or higher, which is like what I say, the support that bowdisciples gets as well. It's very high, but it's easy to focus on the 5% that are haters. But of the people that you feel have like treated you poorly because you're a girl, would you say that it's more men or more women?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Or equal?
I would probably say equal, and then what I think is more unfortunate than like directed towards me is when I see women out there in the hunting community. I guess I would say it's equal, but what bothers me more, again, this is why I'm not feminist, it's not men that say it that bothers me. It's women, and I think again that stems from I don't want to say jealousy, because again I don't think I'm anything to be jealous of, but it doesn't just happen to me, it happens to other women too. But so it's when you see women, whether big or small in channels or popularity or whatnot, hate on women who, you know, wear tight fitting clothes or put makeup on, and I'm like, all you're doing is shaming people out of wanting to do the sport.
Yeah.
Like, why would any woman hate on another woman? I'm going to be excited for anybody who goes out there and picks up a bow or tries to shoot or tries to go hunting in whatever shape and form, whether that's a gun, rifle, shotgun, dog running, still hunting, recurve bows, compound bows. I don't care what you want to do. If you go out and you have fun doing it, I don't give a flying flip what you look like or how much makeup you put on that day. If you get up early enough, which sometimes I struggle with, and you want to put on your face before you go hunting because you feel more comfortable, I'm going to set that alarm clock for you. But I'm never going to hate on you for doing it. So, yeah, I think to answer your question, probably 50-50 of which ones do it most. I think typically how the comments will go is like women will direct it directly to you, men will make it a consensus of like, you know, oh, women just, you know, put their knockers out to get views or something. But the one that bothers me most is women doing it.
Yeah,
Just
no,
because.
that makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, I don't want to harp on this and make it sound like there's like a ton of haters, because there's really not. Some people would like to make it seem that way, but it's just that it's false. There's a ton of support, which is really, really cool. And
I think just
like
what it
that.
shows is passion for the sport and passion for what you or other people like you do. So it comes off like, again, like when I'm ranting about women or, you know, putting on makeup and things like that, it comes off like I've experienced this a lot. Again, like you said, it's next to nothing, whether it's comments or things like that. But what I think it seems like, you know, you get more of it than you really do because you're so passionate, where I am in that topic area, passionate about it. Like, there would be nothing to talk about to seem like there's issues in the community if we just all supported ethical people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to put it. Yeah, however you want to hunt, if you want to be a vacation hunter or go super hard or whatever, all that's great so long as you're doing things legally and ethically. Then it's like however you want to float your boat, go ahead. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's cool with me. You know,
I mean, like you and Ted.
I might not hunt with you because maybe it's like I don't want a vacation hunt. I want to go super hard, but then they don't want to hunt with. That's okay, but I still support them. Want to hear their stories and.
Yeah.
Vice
Do we
versa.
like make like jokes and jabs about like how we called it a princess palace? Like, did I bring a cot with a foam mattress with my sleeping bag and a fan, you know, battery operated and LED? Yes, I brought all of that with me to go hunting. But did I still show up mostly every single day except for I believe 2 mornings?
Couple times,
days?
yeah, a couple times.
So not everyone has to hunt the same. Would I still go out and do a backpacking trip and, you know, strap everything to my back and go hike in and not come out for a week? Abso-freaking-lutely. But do you have to hunt that way? No. Would I also go camp, because we do it too, and where I stay in a hotel because it makes the most sense? Yes. So if you want to be a weekend hunter and only hunt the weekends, not everybody's job. Again, that's another one. Is you're lucky, you know, whatever. Not all of us get that time. And that is okay. Like, again, I think you make the point all the time, like, well, you choose the job. Yeah, well, sometimes people, like, for whatever situation, can't always choose the job they would want to be able to do their sport. Now, could you, if you really wanted to dump your life into, like, there are people out there on YouTube who, like, lived in a car for a while so they didn't have bills, so they could, you know, do their day job and go travel and hunt during hunting seasons. Yeah, it's doable. Do you have to do that? Absolutely not. So if you like the job you have, you get satisfaction out of both of them, your world doesn't completely revolve around hunting, then what's wrong with being a weekend warrior?
No,
Absolutely nothing.
I mean, life's about choices and doing things. You know, you make choices that dictate where your life goes, what options you have, and
You have a job that
you
makes it capable of doing that.
I mean, you made your bed, so you got to sleep in it. Whatever you chose to do, you know, you got to kind of.
I don't even like that saying though, because that saying sounds like it sounds negative.
No, yeah, I don't mean it that way, but
it's
like,
like,
just a saying.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but like I think that saying always comes with a negative connotation. Like you gotta sleep your bed, or you made your bed, now you gotta lie in it or whatever. But it's just like you can have this is a better one. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
like if you like the job that you have and it affords you the opportunity to still hunt and make enough money to hunt and live.
Or do anything, surf or what, a mountain bike.
Yeah,
whatever
I just
your
talk
thing
about
is.
hunting because hunting and archery is what we do. But you can do both.
Yeah, oh, we got a growler.
Oh,
So
yeah,
what
you
would
heard
you
a sound
say,
outside.
what is the most positive thing you've gained in your life from archery and or hunting or both? Like whether it's like a work ethic you've gained or some sort of knowledge or whatever. Friends.
No, I would say, yeah, there you go. Not that because you said it, but I was trying to find a way to phrase it, which I would phrase as community. I don't think many people, I call myself an extroverted introvert. It is forced for me to be an extrovert. It's not forced, it's just I have to really try to sit out there and talk to strangers and be social. It's not that I don't like talking to you. I have fun while I'm doing it. It's just like, maybe I got a slightly, like, mental issue or something, but, like, it's just, like, it takes everything out of me to, like, create a conversation. I feel very awkward trying to do it, like, on my own side. Not because I think the person's awkward or whatnot. They seem very natural. I feel like I'm the most awkward human being to talk to. So, doing archery and hunting, especially through this channel, like, I've met Elizabeth on the East Coast, you know, Whitney, and then the people out here in this community, and Matt, and Ted, and Nick, in Utah, you know, being able to just, like, call them up and be like, hey, I need a place to stay because I got another 8 hours to drive, and they're like, absolutely, come on over. That's been, I think it's literally just the best part to me because I, don't like making lots of friends, nor do I have, like, some people have, like, 20 of these, like, very loose, not close friends, but that they could call and go and hang out with, and I'm just not interested in that at all. Like, it's just not fun to me. Like, you don't truly, I think, know those people well, and sure, maybe some of them do, and that is absolutely awesome if you do. But to feel like you have these, like, natural friends around the country, that you could just call up or go hang out with or go spend a week with in another state, very good for me.
Yeah.
I think. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think mental health, I think, is more important than, you could argue this one, I think it's more important than physical health. Because without mental health, are you going to go out there and create physical health? Probably not.
Yeah, I think, I think that's a great one, a sense of, acceptance or, comfort or feeling at home with people, I think is really cool, and I think that, like you said, there's many people you just named who now you could reach out to for help or for whatever you need, which is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, super blessed. That's one really cool part about having the channel and having it continue to grow.
Jenna out there, who's the sweetest sweetheart.
I love Jenna.
You should get her a crown the next time you see her.
I love Jenna. I love
Says
her so.
sweetheart on it.
I love her so much. But yeah, I mean, like all those people, I wouldn't have met if I wasn't doing the videos, probably, because by doing the videos, it just gives more excuses, I guess, to reach out to people and make connections, and they all have happened real organically. How I met all those people, so it's really cool that not only are those my friends, but are also yours, and that's really, really cool. And I think, yeah, I love that aspect. I'm really grateful to have built a platform that I think is a community builder for sure. I know that it is. And I'm really proud of that, and I think that it's neat because so many people message me from all over the world, and I always message back, we'll have a little conversation or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's super neat, and you wouldn't have that without archery and hunting and the channel for that matter. So it's really cool, and I think this podcast studio too is actually going to continue to grow that because we'll have. Sometimes there'll be 4 of us in here, other times there'll be 2 or 3 or whatever. And I think that all those, although you're filming and putting out content of it, you're also just in these conversations learning about one another as well and growing those relationships deeper, and same with the audience by doing these. So I think that's really cool, and we're gonna keep doing it. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh,
Appreciate you
yes.
coming on the show. So
Allie, thank you for coming on the show. You've been the best guest that there could possibly be, buddy.
So that's episode 1 of the Bowdisciples podcast, the BDP. And again, new studio, really stoked on it. It's not quite finished, so you'll have to tune in again to see it fully dialed in. But
Please comment on what else I can add.
thought this would be a good test run to try the audio, try the cameras, learn how to edit it. And I might not even put this out. So if it's on the internet, I guess I put it out. If it's not, it's not. But appreciate y'all for watching. Thank you for coming on. I'm sure Brianna's, she'll be on a lot of these as well as myself
And Ellie.
and others. So
And Ellie.
thank you. Subscribe,
And-
like the videos, bowdisciples.com, grab the merch, and we'll see you in the next pod and video. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow, deputy.